kysymyksiä, koska esimerkiksi palveja. Painotetaan, jos yrität juosta, se on vähän vaikeaa, että yritetään hinnalla. Ja ei ole myöskään kehon laskusta, että pitää juosta aika kauan, että saa saman idean täällä maassa.
Kysymään häneltä kysymyksiä, joita olemme saaneet tänne aika lailla ja paljon ja hyviä siellä.
On monta moduulia, joiden sisällä sitten astronautit ovat. Palataan noihin kohta. Tässä näyttää myös avaruusasema, näyttää ylhäältä päin kuvattuna, tai noin ylhäältä tai alhaalta avaruudessa, sillä ei ole mitään merkitystä. Se on noin jalkapallokentän kokoinen. Eli alkuudet tiedetään, mistä oikein puhutaan ja kenestä oikein puhutaan. Ja aina kun tulee mieleen jotain kysymyksiä, niin viitatkaa, niin koitetaan vastata. Ja sen jälkeen, kun yhteys ISS:lle avaruusasemalle on ohitse.
Jos se on 53-vuotias niin, jo, 63 syntynyt.
Kyllä.
Miten niin vanha?
No mikä ettei. Siis aika paljon on astronautteja, jotka on 50 plus. Ja hän lentää nyt toisella lennollaan jo. Hänelle suunniteltiin yhtä lentoa tässä välissä, mutta hän kaatui pyörällä eikä päässyt sitten lentämään. Mahto varmaan harmittaa. Ja yleensä astronautit niin kun voi ajatella, että kun he käy koulutuksen läpi, niin sen jälkeen he tekevät noin 3 lentoa. Ja
tosi epämukavaa, voi sanoa.
Näin. Ja sitten ollaan olkapäät yhdessä niin vieruskavereiden kanssa. Eli tältä tuntuu lähteä Soyuz-aluksella avaruuteen.
Mä olen miettinyt, että haluaisin lähteä avaruuteen.
To the Science Center right now. Is that true?
That is true, yes. Can you hear us?
We are seeing you and we are hearing you. Do you hear us?
Just to test the other microphone. Kopra, can you hear us at the International Space Station?
En usko, että se on mikäistäkin.
I hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can definitely hear you. I hope you heard the applause here as well. We are very honored and happy to hear from you, and we are here with about 200 fans and at Heureka listening.
Well, tervetuloa. Welcome to Space Station, and I'm very privileged to be able to speak with all of you tonight. And I'm so glad that you stayed up late so that we can have a little bit of a chat tonight.
Excellent. I know that we have about half an hour to go. My name is Tapio Koivu. I'm the CEO of Heureka, and here I also have Anne Liljeström and Jari Mäkinen, who are experts to help me with the questions. And we do also have collected a bunch of questions from the audience. Okay, we move on to the questions, and the first one will come from Henri Rantala. Go ahead, Henri.
Good evening, sir. My question is, can you bring any souvenirs from space, for example, like micrometeors or something? Thank you.
Oh, sure. I think it would be very difficult to bring any micrometeors back, but in terms of souvenirs, we can bring a few things back with us. One souvenir that is allowed, and I think all of us that have done spacewalks particularly like, are some wire ties, and these wire ties we use for different kinds of tasks outside on a spacewalk. And it's a nice remembrance of our work outside, and it actually, frankly, the whole team that's involved with the spacewalk. So that's one example of a souvenir that we can bring back. But mostly we bring a few items with us to remind us of home, and some books to read, some pictures of our family, and we bring those back. And we try to take photographs of those, especially for friends that have given us a few items, so we can give those back with their remembrance or our remembrance of that being in space, and they can have that token of our trip here on Space Station.
Well, thanks very much. The next question actually comes from Rosa Kuusisto. Rosa is 12 years old. Go ahead, Rosa.
What do I need to study? What do I need to study if I want to be an astronaut?
Rosa, it's a great question. You know, I think that the most important thing for young people to do, especially early on, like yourself, when you still have a huge future in front of you and you're trying to make decisions on what you want to do and what's important. But I think that my personal passion is math, science, and engineering, and of course the great technology that we're able to use here on Space Station. And I think that it's a great foundation for all young people, because when anybody learns a new area, especially in a hard technical area that's very difficult, to me it's like money in the bank, because you can always use that in the future. And for a future astronaut like yourself, I think it's a very valuable area in which to study, because our job here is very, very technical, and it's very important to have that technical background. And what it does is allows you to move forward if you decided to study even more in a particular area of engineering or science. When you have that foundation, it allows you to do that in college and then even postgraduate work. So I think that math, science, and engineering foundation is very, very powerful. Among the astronauts that are in the astronaut corps, we have a wide variety of different occupations, mostly technical though. We have medical doctors as well.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that. The next comes from the audience, and Kirsi Kannisto will make the next question. Go ahead.
Hi team. We were wondering, what kind of steps do you need to take when you come to the gravity next time, 1 month's time?
You know, the first time I came back to Earth, it was pretty harsh actually, because what I've learned is that the human body and the human mind can very well adapt to its environment. And when I was here for 2 months before, I was perfectly adapted to zero gravity. You know, I could move around like this. Your body is very used to that environment. So your neurovestibular system is completely turned off, and so it's sort of a rude awakening. What I've learned from my crewmates that have had more than one flight is that your body remembers, and it's a little bit easier the next time. And one of the things that we're doing right now, Tim Peake and I, and I'm sure that Yuri's doing very similar things, is trying to condition our body, especially for that return to 1G. And so we spend more time on our treadmill in a passive mode. That means that we have to work harder and stretching and other things, because it's a little bit disorienting. And hopefully this time around it'll be a little bit smoother, and we'll transition back. But even with a harsh transition back to 1G, it only takes a couple days to feel like you're somewhat normal, and then about maybe 2 weeks to feel like you definitely have your land legs back. You know, I should probably talk to my management about that. That would be a nice thing to have, because we don't have any on board. It's very unfortunate. You know, I think the kind of food that I miss the most is really fresh food. We have very good food up here. We have great variety, but we don't have fresh tomatoes and fresh onions, for example, unless they come up on one of the cargo vehicles. We don't have lettuce, you know, those kinds of things. So I think my first meals will be fresh salads and fresh vegetables.
Okay, and over to Anne now.
Yes, could you tell us about the social aspects of space travel a bit more? Is it hard to live together in such a small space?
No, you'd be surprised how big Space Station feels. I mean, first of all, it is big in and of itself, but it even feels bigger, I think, because when you live in a volume, every surface is something that you can use. So what that means is that if someone is down here working away, you can just split over the top of them with no problem. And so that definitely gives you the sense that the place is bigger than it would if it was simply a house. So it never feels cramped. But in terms of you know, how we work together, it works out very well, because some of our tasks are together. A lot of tasks we do individually, and then we come together for meals. And then at nighttime, we go into our little crew quarters, make phone calls to home. So it feels like a very natural sort of thing, actually, here on board Space Station.
Okay, thanks. And Jari has the next one.
Yeah, we have a question from Nicholas, who is 8 years old and definitely sleeping right now. He wants to know how difficult it is to steer yourself and go where you want to go when you go out on a spacewalk. So how do you manage to move outside of the space station? You have some experience already on that.
It's a very insightful question from a smart young man. You know, when you go out into space, the whole principle of Newton's principle of equal and opposite reaction is completely true. You know, I push myself down and I go down, and it takes very little force. And so we're trained in a neutral buoyancy lab, which is a huge swimming pool, and we have divers that put in weights and foam to try to keep us neutrally buoyant, and it does a decent job of preparing us for a spacewalk. But the real preparation for a spacewalk is the spacewalk itself, because it is a little bit challenging to control yourself. In fact, initially, it's easy to over-control. If you just turn your hand like that, all of a sudden your body turns, and you have to put in an opposite reaction to control it. So what you learn to do is to be very, very gentle, and you learn to use some of the tools we have to keep you secured in place. Even though it may only be a line, at least it prevents you from one degree of freedom. And then we also have tools where we put our feet into a restraint, and we have another tool that's a ball stack that hooks onto a handrail and keeps us stable. So between our training and the tools that we have, we're able to move around and definitely orient ourselves for a particular work site. Great question.
Thanks. Well, we learned that you can't definitely take a run outside.
Bag. This is an orange drink that I have. What's strange is that liquids, the fluids, behave differently because the surface tension makes it stick together. The surface tension on the fluid makes it stick together. And so here's a little ball of water, and it's just unusual that that water forms this way. It doesn't just spill out and lay flat, but it also will stick to things. So it just sticks to my finger and I convulse it. So love to play with water. You know, if you put a little drop of Alka-Seltzer in this, then it expands because it bubbles up. It's an antacid. It bubbles up and then looks like a big foam ball. And I can take a straw here and blow it up. This is an example of how things are just different up here, and we have lots of formal experiments, but a lot of us will just play with things too because it's a lot of fun.
That was just something amazing and awesome. Thanks so much. And we do thank you for this half an hour that you have spent with us. I know that our time is up. I just want to convey this from us. I hope we can all join in shouting to Tim, hyvää yötä, good night in Finnish. Okay, hyvää yötä. I do hope you heard that.
Thank you so much. I sure did. It's been a pleasure talking with all of you. I hope to meet all of you in person someday when I get back to planet Earth and visit Finland.
Well, thank you.